Welcome back, dear friends. Today, let's take a look at the largest country in the world, Russia, both its current state and its past as the Soviet Union. As you may know, Russia is currently the largest country in the world. However, until 30 years ago, Russia was part of the Soviet Union. Now, what if the Soviet Union were to reunite and return to the global community? First, let's see how many countries formed the Soviet Union. Russia was the largest country in this conglomerate. But within this union were also Ukraine, Belarus, Moldova, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. This demonstrates the vastness of the Soviet Union. Russia alone is larger in land area than the entire former planet Pluto. Now, if we compare the total area of the Soviet Union to something on Earth, it seems astonishing because the area of the Soviet Union is larger than the combination of Australia, the South Pole, or Antarctica, the whole of South America, the Arctic Ocean, and the Southern Ocean. It is remarkable that the Soviet Union, on its own, is larger than 3 continents, 2 oceans, and 1 former planet, showcasing the grandeur of a scattered country. This vast country had 11 different time zones, meaning if it was 12 private message in the western part of the country, it would be 11 private message in the eastern part. If the countries that separated from the Soviet Union were to reunite, their combined population would reach 295 million people, making it the 4th most populous country in the world after the United States. Interestingly, if we look at the population of the Soviet Union in 1991, which is 30 years ago, we see that the population of the Soviet Union was only 2 million less than today's Russia. At that time, the Soviet Union was the 3rd most populous country in the world, with a population of 293 million people. In a way, Russia and the countries under its influence did not experience significant population growth. In 1991, the population of the United States was 248,710, and today it has reached 328,200. This means that while the population of the Soviet Union has increased by only 2 million in these 30 years, the population of the United States has increased by around 79 million. Out of this population, 48% will be Russians, and the largest minorities after Russians will be Ukrainians and Uzbeks, while the remaining 30% will consist of various other minorities. If the Soviet Union were to return, Russian would once again become the dominant language as it was in the past, with 58% of the Soviet population understanding and speaking Russian. In summary, the Russian language would become the national language of the Soviet Union. And to maintain the unity of this country and prevent it from falling apart again, it would have to return to the embrace of communism. In the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the Communist Party has the first and last say, and no one else has the audacity to express their opinions. When the Soviet Union is re-established and communism is reinstated, religions will be discarded as rubbish, and you will be indoctrinated that you are an atheist. If you have noticed the US dollar, it says "In God We Trust," which became the country's motto after the communist atheism. However, despite the destruction of any trace of religion and faith by the re-established Communist Party, the percentage of atheists in the new Soviet Union does not exceed 12%. 54% are Orthodox Christians, 3% are Catholics, 24% are Sunni Muslims, 3% are Shia Muslims, and 4% follow other religions. The capital of the new Soviet Union remains Moscow. And it will be one of the 5 major cities in the Soviet Union. The other 4 major cities will be renamed as Leningrad, Kiev, Tashkent, and Minsk. Currently, Russia has the 12th largest economy in the world with $1.4 trillion. When the Soviet Union is re-established, its economy will surpass South Korea and Canada, but still not reach the levels of India, France, China, or the United States. With such magnitude, the per capita gross domestic product of the Soviet Union will be relatively low, reaching $6,899. This means that the Soviet Union's per capita income will rank 76th in the world, higher than Bulgaria and before China. Despite its economy and its immense size, the only institution that thrives and grows every day to its advantage is the Red Army. It consumes over $80 billion from the country's budget and ranks 4th in military expenditure worldwide. It's good to know that the United States has the highest military budget with $738 billion. China is second with $261 billion, and Saudi Arabia ranks third with $87 billion. Although the Soviet military budget is the 4th largest in the world for such a large country, the Red Army has the highest number of active military personnel after China. And that's not all. The Red Army also has 884 zero reserve forces. This means that when war breaks out, the Soviet Union can deploy a force of 320 zero soldiers. This force is equivalent to the population of New Zealand. If the Soviet Union mobilizes all its forces, it can provide an army as large as the Chinese military, surpassing it by 42% and becoming larger than 42% of the United States Armed Forces. This Soviet Union lacks nothing in terms of military power. Its army is supported by 7,300 nuclear bombs. In comparison, the United States has 6,970 nuclear bombs, which is 330 fewer than the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union surpasses everyone in another aspect, which is oil production. If established, it can produce 13 million barrels of oil per day. Now, with such magnificence, such a powerful army, and such an infinite expanse, why did it collapse? There are different opinions. One of them is that their industry did not grow as much as the world did. But there is another point that some say the Soviet Union's attack on Afghanistan and the bogging down of the Red Army in Afghan soil could be one of the reasons for its collapse. What is your opinion about the Soviet Union? Please write it in the comment section.